What's going on? My name is Amy. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, instead of doing a recap like I've been doing lately, I'll give you a quick summary, but I wanted to share the specific strategy I'm going to be implementing in order to help fix the challenge I'm dealing with right now of hesitating on entries getting into my day trades. And I'm gonna just kind of say, this is me as a 7-month day trader. It's literally just entering my 7-month here, and kind of share what I see like I need to work on, and maybe that helps you as well if you're a beginner trader. So first things first though, Amy's Trading Tribe on Telegram is free to join. You can check the link down below. There is a group of us in there, very supportive community. We trade together live in the market, pre-market, throughout the day. Some people trade middle of the day, some people trade the close. So you'll typically always find somebody in there to bounce ideas off of. And I've been sharing some mindset tips in there as well. Just things that I've recognized, my own trading, things I'm working on, things that, maybe can help you not have a blown account or anything like that, which thankfully has never happened to me. But it's just a great place to learn, share ideas. Check it out down below. My day trading resources, also free. You can check that out. It's basically a working Google document of all the resources I've gathered that have helped me on this journey so far. So if you're really new, just getting started, you might want to check it out. Right now in my current trading since beginning of May into June, I've been following Ross Cameron's day trading strategy, specifically the way that he picks stock selection in order to trade. I'm not trying to jump in and out of trades like he does. That's a little advanced for me, and it just didn't go very well trying to execute as fast as he does, because I just don't have a fast enough broker. Number one, I'm using Thinkorswim from Schwab. And number two, he is just, Mr. Expert level here. However, I am in his $19 trial right now. And I've been watching him trade live, and that's been really helpful to just kind of see what's his thought process? Why does he pick certain stocks? Why does he get in there? Why does he get out there? That kind of thing. But I've modified my own strategy of getting in and out of stocks to sort of suit where I'm at. So before we get into the specific things I'll be working on to fix this hesitation on my entries, today's trading, just a quick recap, I took 2 trades, 1 red, 1 green. I traded KWM for a loss, and that one was, I was literally trying to cancel my limit buy order when it picked it up, because I kind of saw, based on the level 2, which I kind of fixate my eyes on as I'm watching the trade, it looked like it wasn't going to be the setup I thought it was. So I had a limit buy order with a take profit sell order bracket in Thinkorswim set up. And so it's sitting on the books, right? I'm literally hitting cancel and confirming. And right before I could click yes, boom, I get filled and I get in the trade. And I'm like, well, I didn't really want to at that point. So I took a small loss on that, $3 and some change. And then I ended up trading, what was next? TGL. And I got green on that one, and made $1.20 back of my loss. So I'm down $2.60 for the day or whatever it is. Nothing crazy. I am trading 20 share sizes now, so I think I'm doing pretty well in terms of managing risk with higher share size. Because if you were following me, even just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I was only trading 2 shares. So I bumped up to 10, then I bumped up to 20. Kind of sticking with that for right now. Getting into this entry hesitation, strategy of what I'm looking to basically modify, change, improve, eliminate this thing. Because when I look back this week, I saw several trades that I could have gotten green and had a winning day, or at least a winning trade, but I hesitated getting in. And I'm like, what's going on? So kind of looking back at that made me realize there's something cropping up. Let's see what I can do to fix this. And the first thing I thought of was that the thing that was working for me when I had like this green streak of like 5 winning trades over the course of like a week and a half, 2 weeks, and they were back to back, I mean consecutive winning, was that I had sort of this mantra of I don't care. I don't care. And I would sort of tell myself that before getting into the trade. And I would really get myself in a place, a state of mind where I let go of the outcome. And if you've watched any of Mark Douglas's lectures on YouTube, he's the guy that wrote Trading in the Zone, or you've read that book, you kind of might get that concept, because that's basically what he's saying is like, you're in these trades, you see your setup, like it's all based on probabilities that maybe this goes your way, maybe it doesn't, but you have to just completely detach from the outcome. You have to stop caring about, am I right or wrong? Or am I gonna make money or am I gonna lose money? You just really have to learn to let that go. And this week, I felt like there was some trades I cared too much. And probably like I should have just put the brakes on and not actually even put in my limit buy and just said, hey, like, let's figure out, let's check this, let's clear this, whatever, before we even put in the order. The other thing is I like to use affirmations, because this has worked for me in life just with other goals and things I've wanted to achieve and have. And my affirmation right now is I'm a confident, highly profitable day trader. And in the beginning, you're going to tell yourself something like that and your brain's going to be like, you liar, like you're not confident. You definitely ain't highly profitable. You're going to hear these voices in your head. And where does that come from? It comes from programming. Think about all the stuff in the media, the news, movies, music, your friends, your family, people you went to school with. Most of the time, you were told a lot of negative things, a lot of negative feedback, you were basically discouraged sometimes for thinking too big or what have you. And that's the kind of stuff you gotta override that's in your mind, right? Because you get sitting there and you're all excited to trade and you want this to work, and you tell yourself something like this, and most likely, most people, unless they were brought up in a very uplifting, very positive, environment, household that everybody was praised and nobody was put down, like, I think this is like the 5%, right? At least in the US. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but I'm going to just put it out there that I think it's more like 5 to 10% of households that kids grew up with that kind of environment, versus the likely environment of, you can't do something, or you shouldn't do that, or who are you to think so big, or you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to override there. So yes, in the beginning, it is completely normal to feel like, if you do what I'm doing, that you're lying to yourself. And that's okay, because guess what? You lie to yourself when you say you can't do something. Because look at all these people that have done it. People like to say you can't do day trading, you can't be profitable, you're gonna lose, like you're an idiot. Like there's all kinds of stuff on social media, and if you dare tell anybody in real life, they're probably gonna say one of those things. And yet, there are people who do this for a living, who are profitable, who are consistent, who do make tons of money. And yes, they might be in the 10% or whatever people who try day trading. But if you compared that to like people that wanted to be in the NBA, you tell people like your dream is to do that, and you kind of fit the criteria of what it might be to win in the NBA, they're not going to be like, oh, you're stupid. Like, but yet the success rate of that is like 0.05% or whatever, people that actually make it. So don't let the naysayers get you. Okay. The other thing I want to kind of do before getting in the trade, I kind of mentioned this, was asking myself, do I care too much about this trade's outcome? This is just kind of one of these things. You got to do this on the fly, like, because you know how fast trades are moving. You want to get in, you want to get the momentum of what you're trying to capture here. And so for me, I just have to take that half a second. Like, before I send that order, do I care too much about this trade? And you got to be like completely detached, right? If you feel like heart racing, breath quickening, shallow breathing, you are palm sweaty, all these things, like that's an indication that you have not let go of the outcome. You do care too much about the trade. So if that is the state of mind, like for me personally, I will work on recentering myself. I'll say my mantra again. I will take a breath, and I'll remind myself, like, this is not life or death situation, okay? This is meant to be a fun, yes, one day profitable, enjoyable activity. This is not like, oh my gosh, I have to get it right or else I am a failure. Because I think that is one of the lingering thoughts in people's minds, including myself sometimes, that if you get into a trade and it didn't go well in that sense, that for some reason that equates to you being failure, loser, you suck, right? It's like, think about all the trades that you're gonna take throughout this journey of being a day trader. Does this one stupid little trade today mean that you are terrible your entire day trading career? No. When you put it into that perspective, like think about the people that have been doing this for like 10 years. Are they even gonna remember that one trade that didn't go well, like didn't go to profit? No. Like you gotta really zoom out sometimes. And I think this will help myself also to just say, hey, who cares, right? Like there's so many more trades to take. I'm not risking the farm here, okay? I'm buying 20 freaking shares. The other thing was to ensure, this is the key, because I definitely slipped once or twice this week. Ensure that this is the A+ quality setup that you go for and is the most obvious. There was a couple of stocks I was looking at this week and I was just taking the trade because it was there. Like, okay, it's moving, it fits stock selection criteria, maybe, but just because it's showing its head doesn't mean that's the A+ quality setup, right? And I definitely goofed, I forget which day it was, but I thought, and I analyzed last week that my most profitable trades, the majority of my profitable trades, occurred before the opening bell, based on the type of style I like to trade, which is momentum. Things are moving, news is popping out. Typically, all the news is out by the opening bell, so I think that's one of the reasons that setup works better in the pre-market. And I took a trade after the bell, and it was a loss. So I'm like, hello, okay. So just, checking again. Is this obvious, most obvious, and is this my A+ quality setup that I normally go for? Next, trusting my gut. So if everything looks right, your chart's telling you, your indicators are telling you, you're looking at level 2, it all kind of looks like the right setup and it's the A+ quality, and yet you still feel a gut check about it, don't get in. Wait a moment to see if that passes. And if it does not, then you don't take the trade, okay? Because I can tell you so many times that I did that and I just went in anyway before recentering myself and not caring so much, right? That something would happen. If I got into the trade, boom. If I didn't get in the trade and I did trust my gut, this has happened several times. In fact, even during the streak where I was green several days in a row, there was a couple of times where I had a limit order in. Actually, I had already submitted the order. And I felt like, something's off. I shouldn't be in this trade. I should not let it take my buy order. And I would cancel. And then it would just flush. And it was like one of those just random things where all the signs are there to get in. And then it's like, for whatever reason, everything goes south, So trust that. Trust the gut, the intuition. Next, kind of just the checklist of what I am looking for when getting into a trade is keeping my eyes initially on the 1 minute chart, and the 10-second chart is helpful for pullback, like ideas. What I noticed today though was it was kind of faking me out a little bit, so I actually switched my 10-second to a 30-second, and that seemed to just sort of help me out a little. But if you're really looking for micro pullback areas, 10-second is helpful for that. And that the MACD is open, and that the histogram on the MACD is green. Because there was a trade I took, I think it was yesterday, and when I looked back at my chart, I'm like, duh, forgot to look at the MACD. And I think in my mind, maybe I did glance at the lines and I didn't see the histogram because I saw the lines were open, and yet it was the wrong line above the other line. So it was like the orange line above my blue line, and the good go signal is the blue line over the orange. And you can tell the difference when you look at the histogram and you see all the orange, which is red, selling. And yeah, totally missed looking at that and took a loss yesterday for that reason. Then once the order is submitted, you know, I got myself centered, all that sort of thing. I hit send, the order's in the books, let it go. Like, cause at that point, you know, you just really have to be resigned to it. However, that doesn't mean I stop watching the trade and just like, oh, we'll see what happens. You know, I still watch for any signs of a failed setup, which is what was occurring today on KWM. And that trade, looking back, I did the right thing trying to get out. However, I never should have had a limit buy order in there in the first place, because when I actually went back and looked at the chart right after, it was basically on its third pullback. And if, you know, you follow Ross Cameron's strategy at all in this micro pullback idea, the first pullback and the second pullback are the strongest and the most likely to give you the next leg up. Usually by the third pullback, not every stock, not every time, but usually by that third one, you're starting to see lower highs and lower lows. And so you get in on that third pullback, even though it could be starting to come back up, the chances of it coming down and down hard are just kind of higher at that point, because, you know, it's running out of steam. And then the last thing I put was that something I noticed that would help build confidence for the next trading day was something I did the day before. And that being that I would watch a Ross Cameron technical analysis video from start to finish the day before. So like after I'm done my trading day and I, you know, kind of having time in the day to just sit down, watch, take notes, having the technical analysis sort of like just reabsorbed into my brain, you know, because it's like this stuff takes a while to really grasp and really understand what you're looking at. So the more I watch his recap videos, his technical analysis videos, that really cements stuff into your memory. More importantly, though, I think it's the fact that I took the time, and that builds confidence as a trader. Because then you start to feel more like, hey, I'm being the responsible trader and I'm learning and I'm going out and, you know, actually studying and doing what sometimes other people won't do to learn. Like some people, I think that it's only about chart time. It's only about watching things and getting in and out of trades. And for me, in just speaking from my own life experience, anything I wanted to get good at, you know, business-wise, whatever hobby thing skill, I knew that I always had to invest time in learning. And it's not just about doing the thing. Yes, you know that you need that experience, but you have to also devote the time outside of the doing the thing to learning the thing. And I think this just a little bit of a mindset thing there, in that I felt more confident the next day when I had watched the video the day before, regardless of whether I was using that information or not. Maybe one day I'm watching a video about the MACD and the next day I'm trading and I'm, not even really concerned about the MACD, but just for the fact that I went and learned the day before, I went out of my way to put the time in. That is what builds the confidence. So a mix of those things, that I'm going to be working on to fix that hesitation of getting into trades. And I mentioned this in my tribe as well, the Amy's Trading Tribe on Telegram, again, link down below, that it's an ego thing that you just have to be aware of. Like, we all go through this at some point or another, that your ego is going to be like, well, you had 5 losing trades. Now you really got to make it happen because otherwise you suck, like whatever it might be. The ego is going to try to shake you. And if you put too much emphasis on what was yesterday like, what was my previous trade like, or what was last week like, all that has to be basically clean slate forgotten. So that every time you get into a new trade, you just have to refresh it and say, I don't care about the outcome. Yesterday is history. A week ago is history. Last month is history. Keeping any of that up here is just going to screw it up. And so each time you get into a trade, just treat it like this is a brand new thing. Yes, I have my experience and, a little bit of like skill, but each trade is new, and you don't have to know the outcome. I think it's one of the best things Mark Douglas ever said was like, you got your setup, you got your strategy, you got these things pointing to taking the trade. But guess what? You don't have to know the outcome in order to make money. That's the full sentence. You don't have to know the outcome in order to make money. And when you just sort of let that go, say, hey, I'm going to get in this trade because I'm confident about my setup, my strategy. If it goes my way, great. If it doesn't go my way, who cares? I'm on to the next one, So that's all I have for you guys. Feel free to come join us in the tribe. Like I said, link down below, my day trading resources down below. And appreciate you for commenting, sharing, liking, subscribing. I will be traveling end of this week. So I'm going to try to use my new portable trading station, which I'm excited to share with y'all. Basically flying to Texas, taking a cruise ship out of there to Mexico, Honduras, and I've basically got everything set up. Prepaid my good Wi-Fi service. I've got a portable monitor that I got from Amazon. I've got a portable desk that's coming with me. So I'll be trading off my laptop using all that. And it's going to be interesting because this will be the first time I actually will be day trading while traveling. I've traded while traveling before, but it was swing trading and, it's different, right? You're trying to get in and out of things quickly. So we shall see how it goes. So stay tuned, y'all. I'll be sharing with you guys, how that's going, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.